Hello, everyone on YouTube. Please take a moment and click the thumbs up button below this video. Leave a like. Lets us know that you've enjoyed this episode. Also, hit the subscribe link as we release videos throughout the week, and not just from the voices you hear on the podcast, but from other members of the FTW community. For more information on how to get involved in the future, head on over to FTWpodcast.com. And welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Fans Talk Wrestling Podcast. FTW is a weekly WWE and TNA discussion where fans talk the wrestling world in all of its laughable glory. This is episode 233, recorded live on September 23rd, 2014 on FTWLive.com. Tonight, we are talking about all kinds of WWE and TNA goodness. With us tonight is Nick. Say hello, Nick.
Howdy-ho, neighbor Joe.
Harrison. Say hello, Harrison.
Hello.
And America's sweetheart, Garvin.
I am America's sweetheart.
And
you gonna put that on your resume?
It could be on his resume. That'd be fine.
Subtitled, yay!
Yay, that special sauce. Yay. And you, who are the live chat hooligans who are hopefully watching us on the YouTube. My name is Joe, and I'll be moderating tonight's conversation. If you're listening live, say hi and leave your thoughts in the comments here on FTWLive.com. If you're on Twitter, use hashtag FTWLive. And if you're watching on YouTube, please leave us a like, because we're awesome. You're awesome for leaving the like. We'll get along great. Now let's talk about the weekend that was in wrestling, and we'll start with our recap of Night of Champions. Looking over, just to run down the card, the Dust Brothers beat the Usos for the tag team titles. Sheamus beat Cesaro in the U.S. Championship match. The Miz beat Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental title. Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns didn't happen due to Roman Reigns' emergency hernia surgery, but Dean Ambrose came and attacked Seth Rollins. Rusev beat Mark Henry. Randy Orton beat Chris Jericho. AJ beat Paige and Nikki Bella. And Brock Lesnar beat John Cena via DQ. Oh, John Cena won via DQ. Brock Lesnar walked out with the title. So, guys, gotta ask, what was your match of the night? Nick?
Sheamus versus Cesaro, hands down. I will never get tired of seeing those two beat the hell out of each other.
Okay.
It was very strong. A lot of good wrestling. I was kind of surprised about Sheamus, and I really shouldn't be, given that he's done this well before. But they always book him as a brawler, the Dublin Brawler, and it always comes as something of a surprise to see that he can match just about anybody hold for hold, at least to a certain level. But yeah, this is hands down the best match of the night for me.
Harrison?
Oh god, best match of the night. Really, Rusev and Henry. I gotta be honest with that one. And the reason why is because Mark Henry is one of those guys that, I remember talking about it, a year ago? We were saying the second coming of Mark Henry, and that that his best work seems to be coming later in his career. This match wasn't one of his best, but it's definitely lived up to the hype of the Rocky IV storyline they had going on that. And it just, I don't know, for some reason, just looking at it, I didn't have high hopes for it, just on paper. Rusev versus Mark Henry, I just thought this would be just a really, really boring, both these guys are just going to lay down on the mat for half of it match, and that's kind of what happened. But at the same time, it was still just a really interesting match to watch. And so for the dud to surprise mode, I'm picking Rusev and Mark Henry.
Garvin, what did you think? What was your match of the night?
I'm with Nick with this Cesaro versus Sheamus. It was the only match that I was really looking forward to. Just looking at the card, it was the only one that piqued my interest, and it delivered. It delivered by all measurements for me.
See, for me, I'm stuck between the tag team title match, which I thought was really well done, and actually Chris Jericho and Randy Orton. I know I am always the guy who sits against Randy Orton And, oh, God, I can't believe Randy Orton's in another match, blah, blah, blah. I actually think they did a great job. Taking a step back and looking at Randy Orton has been doing a great job. Yes, a lot of his stuff's predictable, but he's doing a good job, and I have to give him his props. And
Yeah,
and hell froze over, so that's cool.
Yeah, I mean it's predictable, but it's pretty. I mean, for all intents and purposes, like there never seems to be a weird moment in an Orton match, especially on the pay-per-view level. So it seems like he always brings out the best in his opponents, whoever that may be.
Yeah, I just keep hoping another fan's going to jump in the ring and crotch him again. Because seriously, that was one of the best moments in wrestling for Randy Orton, in my opinion. That one fan just came and he's up on the ring post and bam, nut shot.
Yeah, there wasn't really a bad match on this card. I know there were some we weren't exactly looking forward to. There were doubts voiced about the Divas match, about Ziggler versus Miz, I think, and a couple others. But yeah, at worst, they were solid, and a lot of matches actually exceeded expectations. Like Harrison, you mentioned with Rusev versus Henry. I absolutely agree. That was a pretty solid match.
Excellent, guys. So, I mean, looking over this card, how do you think they did with this entire show? Was this a must-see event? Is this a ignorable event? I mean, where do you guys rank this compared to other pay-per-views in recent history?
Like,
I don't know
Battleground is a 1, and what would be a 10? SummerSlam?
SummerSlam, WrestleMania. I mean, where do you rank this in pay-per-views?
Well, Night of Champions is never really. It's kind of like the B Squad pay-per-view. It's never really the one. If you had to skip a pay-per-view and not be a hipster about it, this would be the one you could do it. I mean, there's never really anything long-term that happens because whatever happens here is just going to get swept right under the rug going into King of the Ring. So, for me, I guess you could watch it. I mean, there's not really much going on right now, is there? I mean, there's... Yeah, you could have watched it. As far as this pay-per-view, I thought they did a solid job. I'd give it a good B+. There was a lot of stuff on here that felt kind of excessive. It felt just kind of like filler, but for the most part, it was a solid pay-per-view.
What do you think felt like filler?
Okay, now I'm going to get hit a lot for this one, but Paige, AJ, and Nikki, I felt like that match just did not have a lot going on in it. Same with Miz and Ziggler. And Reigns and Rollins, that deserves to have a solid match. Although, well, that only took up, what, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Not even?
What match? Took 5 minutes?
Reigns versus Rollins, right? I mean, that wasn't really a real match.
No, it wasn't, because Reigns is in the hospital with a hernia.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. I don't.
The Rollins
my bad.
segment.
I don't mean Reigns versus Rollins. Yeah, the Rollins segment. I felt like that was just kind of. I mean, they had to pivot with Reigns in the hospital. They did a decent job with it, but I felt like it went a little. Maybe not a little long. Maybe it just felt long. But yeah, Miz, Ziggler, and AJ, Nikki, and Paige. I just felt like it had a lot of fluff to it. They just didn't devote a lot of time to make those matches as packed as like Lesnar versus Cena was, Jericho versus Orton, Usos, and the Rhodes brothers. So I mean, so for me, this pay-per-view was solid, but it was just like a B+.
Okay, Nick.
I can agree with that basic premise. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't qualify it as must see, but it was definitely decent. It was popcorn. Popcorn's good.
Oh man, that's an awesome analogy. Yeah, that's what it was. It was popcorn. It was tasty, but it wasn't filling.
So it just needed a shit ton of lard poured on top? Because really, that's what that artificial butter is. It's lard.
I mean, what this pay-per-view really needed was Sami Zayn running out to answer Seth Rollins' open challenge.
Yeah,
but I mean, the bunny's got to work.
Are we saying that Sami Zayn is the bunny?
The rumor was that Sami Zayn was working as the bunny in recent shows.
I have seen that rumor.
No, I thought for sure. Oh, really? Well, okay. I guess I can see that one.
Yeah, I mean, because all I know is that the wrists are white.
Yeah.
And they did team up for the NXT tag tournament, so it's not the most outlandish thing I've heard.
Yeah. So, uh, Garvin, what are your thoughts? You need to unmute.
Yeah, I've no arguments here. I mean, overall, it was an okay pay-per-view. It had some good matches, but nothing jumped out as surprising enough. Nothing jumped out as like, yeah, this was like that moment. We didn't really have a moment. There was like that brief teasing of a moment when Rollins came down to cash in. But since that never happened, obviously John Cena had to ruin it. But yeah, overall, no, I think it was an okay pay-per-view, but it wasn't great.
I'm sorry, how did John Cena ruin that?
He stopped the cash in.
Yep, he
I
did.
don't
Oh,
understand.
okay, I can see what you're saying.
I don't
Yeah,
see
he
it as
did.
ruining it because I was never expecting Rollins to successfully cash in anyway.
Well, I mean, I expect him to cash in.
I expected
whether or
him
not
to
he's,
come out. I expected him to come out, but I wasn't expecting like the actual match to happen.
I will give him give Lesnar props. He took that curb stomp very, very well.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So, is there any points in this pay-per-view, guys, that you want to point out as being a high point, something that really stood out to you?
I want to point out a low point that Diva Jill brought up: the Florida Georgia Line coming out for the Ziggler Miz match. God, that was awful. I don't understand their fascination with these two guys. It's the same deal with Kid Rock and Flo Rida. I mean, if you need to bring on a musical guest, bring on Mega Ran. Please, for the love of God, bring him on.
Mega Ran?
Yeah. I guess you don't.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, he's a rapper. He's friends with Xavier Woods.
Oh, okay.
He does a lot of video game rap crossover stuff. He's a huge WWE mark.
Okay. I did notice the seemingly odd reference to that Howard Stern guy on Raw, since we're talking about people who get recognized for WWE for some reason. But yeah. Are there any other high or low points that anybody wants to point out? I mean,
Low point for me.
Yeah.
I think there was only maybe 2 suplexes on Cena this time. I was really hoping for them to beat the 16 record.
that would have
No,
been.
that wasn't going to happen.
No, this was a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Was it really?
that was my low point.
He don't walk out with some bruises, so
Yeah.
like they actually zoomed in on that welt he got from that one knee strike. Pretty nasty.
Yeah, he got walloped with that one. Low point for me, well, no, high point for me was Sheamus' bro kick at the end of the Sheamus Cesaro match. He fucking nailed that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he did it, and then with a 360 spin at the end. I mean, that was with authority. And you're right, guys. You and Nick, you and Garvin, right. That match, those two guys brought it.
Well, Cesaro always brings it. I am more impressed with you guys, or with those guys, not you guys. I'm never impressed with you fuckers.
Aw.
Yeah, I know. Cesaro always seems to bring a new light to to a match. Even jumping forward to Raw when he was in a 6-man tag, even little things he does, just gesturing at people, seems to bring more of a fight feel to a match. And I really appreciate that. All the little things he does to make a match better. I'm surprised. You guys have said that the Paige AJ Nikki match was bad. I enjoyed that match. I expected Nikki to win. I didn't see. It's either that or I didn't see the title changing hands. But I think all three of them put on a good effort for a triple threat here and trying to keep Nikki relevant.
No, I definitely didn't think it was bad. I did enjoy the match for the most part. It wasn't. They didn't knock it out of the park, but it definitely wasn't bad. Would it have been better if it had just been Paige and AJ? I don't know.
I think it would have been a better match if they were solo and there was some type of gimmick involved. They're inching that way. We haven't seen a good Divas gimmick match since Lay Cool versus Beth Phoenix and Natalya in the tables match.
True.
Yeah, but we can't keep going back to the Page. We can't keep going back to the Page versus AJ Well every single time we want to have a Divas Championship match. I mean, the division can't just be these two girls. And Nikki did do a pretty good job in this match. Let's be honest. She held her. I mean, I wouldn't say she held her own against these two, but she did pretty well. And when you look at Nikki now versus Nikki a year ago or a year and a half ago, she's made incredible strides since then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she definitely didn't drag anything down, and I agree with you that it can't just be Paige and AJ all the time. That's why I was hesitant about saying that reducing it down to those two for this match would have automatically made it better. So, yeah, I think on the whole the match definitely was pretty decent. Boom, drop the mic.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can see what you're saying about that one. It was a decent match, but yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, a lot of stuff in that match, it felt like filler. It didn't really feel like a solid, bookended, it didn't feel like a really, really solid match.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, I can take your assessment and see where you're coming from. If you guys have no more comments on Night of Champions, we can look at our pick totals. Nick got 5. Deuce got 5. Garvin had 3, and I had 3. So that brings our overall total. Nick, you are in the lead with 47 points.
What's up?
And I think Garvin's weeping because he's got 46. I'm stuck 12 points behind at 34. Mr. I'm Never On Scott has 24. Kevin has 13. Harrison's only at 12. Deuce has those 5, tied with Dinosaur Lee, and then Lee has 3.
See, I don't care what anybody says. Nick, you can win. Let's just accept the fact that Dinosaur Lee has more points than Lee.
No, I'm definitely okay with that.
Yeah. That's pretty impressive, although I heard rumors that Lee may still be alive.
Well, if he's still alive, he still has to bow down to his reptilian overlord.
That's true. Okay, let's move on from Night of Champions. On this week's Raw, Dolph Ziggler won the Intercontinental Championship back from Miz less than 24 hours since he lost it at Night of Champions. Are you guys okay with such a quick change?
I don't see the point. I don't mind the general idea of the title getting dropped like that, but I want to know why first. I want to see a good reason for it, and I don't see one for this.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I think this is a little rough. Why even have it change hands at all?
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense why we're doing this match if they're just going to put it back on Ziggler. Or why did we do the pay-per-view match if we're just going to throw it back on him? What do you think, Harrison?
Well, yeah, I'm with you guys on this one a little bit, but my thing about it is, doesn't this kind of just make Miz even more of a joke? Like the whole thing with Sandow. I mean, Sandow's doing everything with it, so maybe I'm just transferring stuff to Miz. But doesn't this just kind of make Miz even less than what he could be since his comeback?
Yeah, I'm starting to get that idea, and it really sucks because heel Miz can do a lot with a title. And the whole stunt double thing I thought was great, both for him and for Sandow, but Sandow is starting to outshine him. And I guess maybe they could go with the angle where Miz gets pissed off that Sandow is outshining him and they start feuding back and forth there, but if they wanted to do that, I don't understand what a less than 24-hour reign as IC champ does for that angle.
Yeah, the only way that could have helped is maybe if Sandow accidentally cost him the match. Then okay, then they have a reason to fight. But they don't right now. So, yeah, I guess it's all the discussion we can do on this.
No,
Huh?
No,
What?
I mean you're right.
Yeah. Possibly the first feud that started on Total Divas was brought to Raw as Natalya took on Summer Rae. The match happened because of an argument they had on this Sunday's episode. Let's forget the fact that Total Divas was taped months ago. Are you okay with this crossover storyline, Harrison?
Okay, I wasn't fine with this before. I mean, I get the appeal of it, that the Total Divas, was taped months ago, but they did this last time, didn't they? Last season, they had a storyline that wrapped up at WrestleMania, and it was taped, 3 months ago? For me, it just kind of kills any enthusiasm you have for the Total Divas match because you're kind of walking in. I know you walk into a professional wrestling event thinking, okay, this is planned ahead of time, but this is like super planned ahead of time. So this is like an even more of a wrestling is fake kind of argument, even though that's a completely crap argument. This is even more of that coming at you. I don't know. I just feel like this is twice removed from what I want it to be, as opposed to, okay, yeah, you're predicting the outcome of the matches, and now we're predicting them months ago, and we have another TV show on a completely different channel on a completely different day that's tied up with the result of this match that was recorded, back in, May. So I just look at this and think, this is just a little too much.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nick.
Okay. Yeah, this is asking a little much of the audience to accept, given just how long it's been between the taping of Total Divas and right now. I don't necessarily. Well, let me say, I think they could have made this work if they started referencing things that happened on Total Divas from last season. Because Natalya and Summer Rae have been butting heads ever since Summer Rae came on the show. So you could definitely draw from that to start a feud between them, but I like the feud right now. I think these two work well together because they've had matches together in NXT and they've worked really well together. So yeah, this is kind of a shitty way to get that started on the main roster, but on the whole, if this is the feud we're getting, I'm okay with it.
See, I think the feud itself is okay. I think it's the fact that it came from Total Divas. Because you're right, it's something that was taped some time ago. And isn't that the fear we had for Total Divas in the first place, that it was going to intrude on WWE programming as opposed to the other way around? Initially, we complained that it was like, oh, what are they going to do, try and incorporate everything so then storyline's going to blur and blah, blah, blah. And that's exactly what's going on now. I mean, they're maybe they're testing the waters with it here, or
I don't think it's necessarily that offensive, because it's they're bringing Total Divas into the main programming, but they're doing it in such an ancillary storyline. Like, it's not even the main focus of the Divas division right now. And I don't think it'll ever get to the level where John Cena or Daniel Bryan or anybody or the Usos will start referencing things to go on from there. I don't think it's ever going to get to that point. I think this is just going to be kind of a side storyline where you get to feature some of the other divas that never get anywhere near the title picture, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think they just need to do a better job of introducing that.
Yeah, they need. I think they do need to do something because I mean that way the non-total divas people can be like, all right, I can go to the bathroom. Because if that it hurts the investment, personal investment into it. Okay. WWE has continued two non-pay-per-view level feuds with Adam Rose and the Bunny versus Slater Gator and Bo Dallas versus Jack Swagger. Should either of these feuds be given a pay-per-view match at Hell in a Cell next month? And should they be in a cell?
No to both, as far as the cell goes. As far as a pay-per-view match, I'm both hoping and I'm fairly confident that Dallas versus Swagger won't continue that long. It seems like they reached a natural wrapping up point last night where Swagger made Dallas tap out and Coulter mocked him because of it. I don't see where Dallas comes back from that. That doesn't necessarily mean that he won't, but I'm hopeful that they're wrapping that feud up. As far as Adam Rose and the Bunny versus Slater Gator goes, the only way I could see that unfolding at Hell in a Cell is when they reveal who the Bunny is, or if they reveal who the Bunny is. And if it's somebody important enough, like somebody they really want to highlight from NXT, like a Sami Zayn, then maybe. But if they're not going to make that big a deal of the reveal, then I don't see that match happening at Hell in a Cell.
Fair enough.
Remember when Jack Swagger held the World Heavyweight Championship?
Remember when he's the ECW champion? Yeah, he did that too. He was the US champion at one point. I mean,
he's had a career.
He has, and look where he's at now.
I know. I don't want to say good or bad. I'm just going to say he's had a career and just leave it neutral.
Now he's just wrestling jobbers.
He had a career.
Yeah, that's true.
Alrighty. Well, guys, how do you think the world title picture will shape up going into Hell in a Cell? You guys think we're going to see Cena versus Lesnar again? Are we going to get a Rollins cash in? Do you think somebody else is going to get involved? Prediction time, gentlemen. Storyline, because this is happening. Hell in a Cell happens on October 26th. And we're going to talk about October 21st at FTW233. But come on, put your booking hat on. How are they going to book this one?
Is it weird that I don't know. We were talking about this before the show, the idea of what would happen here, and I keep thinking Orton. For some reason, I just feel like Orton's going to get involved in some capacity, and I can't get that out of my head.
Okay, that's the voice inside Harrison's head. Nick?
I'll give you that one. I'll give you points for that one.
That's not the most outlandish thing that I could think of. I mean, I could see Lesnar, quote-unquote, stepping out of line with the Authority and they decide to send somebody after him.
Or something, right?
Yeah. As far as Lesnar versus Cena goes, I don't think they want to go back to that well again, given that Cena's lost twice. It's really hard to call because there's not really... Like, if Reigns was here, then maybe him, but he's going to be out. We talked a little about Ambrose, but the line you'd have to draw to have Ambrose go after Lesnar would be kind of circuitous. Now that Harris has brought it up, Orton kind of makes most sense out of anybody that's there right now. Unless you wanted to go really out of left field and bring back a returning Batista. Because, I mean, he's done with Guardians of the Galaxy now.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
not a bad point.
But
well, the one thing oh, I'm sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
let's see. I mean, that could be a possibility. But I mean, how everyone turned on the idea of Batista doing anything, I think they've learned to not do that. So I'm starting to think that maybe we'll get a four-way in the cage. Maybe we'll get maybe Rollins will somehow like cash in for a shot at Ambrose and make it like a fatal four-way inside the cage. Ambrose, Rollins, Cena, and Lesnar.
Yeah, if Rollins cashed in ahead of time and set the match for Hell in a Cell, that could draw Ambrose in. So, I mean, maybe.
I don't know. We were talking about this earlier before the show. The idea of Rollins, Ambrose, and Lesnar somehow getting involved into a storyline with a briefcase or something. And then what was the one thing that we were talking about? It was going to be a number one contendership match between Cena, Rollins, and Ambrose. I think that's what we landed on with that. The problem I have with that is it's Ambrose. I can't see them putting Ambrose one step away from the big belt. Now, I just don't see that. I don't see the WWE.
They did it all the time, or for a while with Ryback. I mean, they kept throwing Ryback in there, and with no hope.
Yeah, but
why wouldn't they do it here?
Ryback had the Cena stamp of approval, though. Like, Cena was pushing it.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know if Cena would push Ambrose. Because Cena's healthy this time. The only reason Cena was pushing Ryback was because Cena was injured.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the more I think about it, it seems like the two most likely answers right now would be Orton or Batista. And when I say Batista, I'm talking face Batista, because he'd be riding the Drax wave off the movie. And I mean, Brock's the ultimate heel right now, so if you bring Batista back as a face, and he's not necessarily stomping all over anybody's momentum like he did with Daniel Bryan when he came back last time, it is really hard to call.
So I guess the question is, what do you guys think is? I mean, I'm going to go with the Fatal 4-Way idea just for something different. But what do you guys think is going to be the main event? We'll just, instead of speculating on the crazy shit that I'm throwing out here, what's your main event match at Hell in a Cell? Either one of you.
Right now,
Cena versus Rollins.
Okay.
You don't even see Lesnar.
I was going to say, I mean,
Lesnar
Lesnar wasn't on Raw. They barely made any comment about him.
Yeah, you don't see Lesnar. Cena versus Rollins, Hell in a Cell. Lesnar makes an appearance if he wants. Otherwise, they just don't have him on the show. I mean, why would you? I mean, it would suck because I think Lesnar in a cage is good promo material. But I mean, I think Cena versus Rollins could be a pretty good match in a Hell in a Cell.
True.
Okay.
I'll throw out two possible outcomes. If you have a world title match for the main event, I'm gonna say Batista versus Lesnar. If you don't have a title match, I think I'll piggyback off Harrison and say Cena versus Rollins. That sounds like it could happen.
Okay. Those are great options, gentlemen. Once again, WWE Hell in a Cell takes place on Sunday, October 26th. Of course, it's right by my anniversary. We'll be previewing it in full on Tuesday, October 21st at FTW233. It'll be one hell of a lot of fun. And, yeah, I know. Hell in a Cell, my marriage, whatever. another week of Raw and another week of negativity by a majority of fans on our Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, and YouTube feeds. Captain Critton said, nothing really besides Ambrose stood out from the show. It was just another episode of Raw. If you didn't see, you didn't miss anything. Reigns injured, Wyatt's not there, Jericho's gone, no Big Show or NXT. Why do we give a shit about Big Show right now? That's my question. Deuce says the way Raw ended was beyond dumb. There's no science behind figuring out why. I had such high hopes for tonight after the first hour, but then it faded fast. I don't know anymore. Radio Under the Influence said, anyone feel bored with the WWE product lately? Ambrose and Rollins can only carry so much. I didn't think Raw was that. I think it started slow and built up. I didn't think it was that bad of a show. I don't know what you guys thought, but that's my feeling.
Yeah, I'm very much in line with that. It wasn't a bad show. There just wasn't really anything that stood out. There wasn't a lot of exciting moments. And yeah, like Kevin brought up, you were missing a lot of standout guys. Like Reigns was out, the Wyatts weren't there. Big Show's debatable, but like you don't really have your internet darlings.
Right.
But I mentioned it on the Facebook page. Raw wasn't bad. I mentioned this about Night of Champions earlier, but again, this was popcorn. Well, I wasn't expecting anything much out of this Raw. And really, we're kind of in the off-season for WWE anyway, so yeah, this is just kind of the natural downtime for them.
Harrison, any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Nick on that one. It is the natural downtime for the WWE, and at the same time, I think they had a lot of hopes that Cena, Reigns, and Lesnar were going to carry them through the rest of the summer, at least the beginning of fall, until they start the road to WrestleMania. I think they were hoping to ride the wave of those three, and with Reigns getting injured, it kind of hurt them. The thing is, this isn't a new experience. It feels like the WWE in the past 5 years has laid all of their hopes on one guy to really spark the show. And it's something they've been doing by having like Cena be at the top of the show, Triple H does it too, where they want to have one guy be like the MC of Raw and get the crowd hyped. Like he's the comic that's forced to come out at the beginning of the show and kind of get you excited for the rest of the main events, but that's his job. It's something that WWE's been doing for the past few years, and I think it's starting to bite them a little bit because they're relying on these guys, they're getting injured, and then now they have these lulls where they got to kind of, maybe not scramble to figure out what to do, but you can definitely tell that they don't really have an answer for situations that they run into like this. And this is what they had last year. This is what we had last year when you and Nick were talking about the fact that Ryback was going after the belt. I mean, who really wanted that?
I don't know. I think Ryback did.
Okay, Ryback did, but fair point, Joe. I retract that statement.
So I have to ask you guys at this point, what do you think WWE is doing wrong in your point of view?
I don't think they're doing anything wrong right now. I think they're doing all right for themselves. It's just bad luck with these injuries, with Daniel Bryan, with Roman Reigns. Why it's kind of debatable.
I forgot about Daniel.
Yeah.
I know once you have a Garvin, it's all downhill.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. Yeah, the That's awesome.
I think it's what WWE did wrong over the past 5 years, up until they started up NXT and they started producing more of the talent, like the Sami Zayns, the Adrian Nevilles, the Shields, the Wyatts, those guys. I think now they're finally starting to get to a point where maybe the next year or the year after that, we won't be having this conversation because they will have built up that pool of talent that can replace the Cenas, the Ortons, where if one of them gets injured, they won't necessarily have to make do with B or C level talent. They'll have other guys they can rely on. It's just that for so long they rode the Cena wagon or the Orton wagon, and they didn't have that that reserve of talent. Now they're kind of building it up.
Okay.
They're kind of in the rebuilding phase.
Nick, I think you're onto something, and I think it has something to do. I kind of had a clarifying moment today. I watched Impact earlier today, and then I watched Night of Champions later today. And what I've noticed is that Impact is really good at making either the entire show is awesome or the entire show sucks. It's not like they rely on one storyline or like one particular thing, at least not anymore, to really carry the entire show. Every division, every match, every storyline has the same amount of energy and the same amount of passion behind it. And the WWE, Nick, and I think you're onto something here with the lack of talent, you don't get that from them. I mean, when you look at the main event title picture, yeah. When you look at the tag team title picture, okay. But when you look at the mid-card titles, you just don't get that same level of passion. The Divas Championship's down to really 3 or 4 women and in the division, and that's all. You get the impression that the WWE really doesn't want to have that same kind of larger, that same kind of bubbling excitement throughout their entire thing. What they want is they want to have a situation where they're bringing people up and then letting them down and then kind of warming them up for the giant boil at the end of the show, which is what they want you to do, as opposed to get you excited for the entire show, carry you through the entire show, and then kind of spike it at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting theory, Harrison.
So I don't know if that's a case of talent, if that's a case of booking, but when you see, because really when you look at the two products side by side, and yeah, you take the cynical route if you want, I don't give a shit, but if you do take the two products on their merit, you can definitely see two different styles emerging here. The TNA wants you to be passionate about every single storyline they put out there, whether or not it's good or bad. They're going to be like, this is awesome, you should pay attention. Whereas the WWE is like, this is great, but we got a promo for something later. Oh, wait, did you see what Cena said earlier today? They want you to be excited for the main event. Like, they want that MC moment that they're pulling you through 3 hours for. And I think that's why people get so tired by the end of the 3 hours, because it's really this one storyline that's pulling you through the entire freaking thing all the way to the end, and then that's got a payoff for everything.
Yeah, I think we'd be seeing something different by now if it weren't for the fact that that strategy kind of works for the WWE when everybody's healthy. Like, when Cena's healthy, when Orton's healthy, it's all going fine. It's when they get injured that everything starts to fall apart, and they're just kind of hoping and praying that something doesn't go wrong when wrestling is one of the industries where if something can go wrong, it really will. It's the epitome of Murphy's Law.
Yeah, Nick, exactly, and that's what made me think about it. Is you're absolutely right on that. It's when everything's going well for the WWE. When they can get every cog in the machine working. It's amazing to see, and it's kind of a miracle that it happens. But it's when that one cog is missing, it just grinds everything to a halt, and they're just kind of going forward in leaps and stops and kind of like trying to just get to the point that they can get something put together. And now really hurts because two of the biggest up-and-coming stars that they have, Daniel Bryan and Reigns right now, are out. And Daniel Bryan, we got to be honest here. Is there anybody who's really thinking he's going to come back with any kind of authority?
I think he'll come back with a bang.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
I think if he comes back, makes a Rumble return, then yeah, absolutely, that he'll come out with a bang. Now, whether that'll have any staying power is debatable.
That's my thing. I think the Daniel Bryan we're gonna get is the Daniel Bryan. We're gonna get the Daniel Bryan that's gonna be the same like HBK we got after the casket match with Undertaker, where he re-injured his back. If you remember, where he landed back first on the edge of the casket, and he was never the same after that. I think we're gonna get that Daniel Bryan back. We're gonna get somebody back who can wrestle, but not nearly at the level that they did before.
Yeah, he's probably gonna be wrestling a slower, more methodical style now. Like, no more diving headbutts and none of the crazy shit.
Yeah, his wife wants to keep him around, I guess, so slow down, honey. Take a break.
Yeah,
why are you doing all this work? Just do barely enough to make the paycheck. That's what I do.
I think we're going to start seeing a big change from WWE. I think they finally recognize that they can't just count on everything to go exactly as planned, because as mentioned before, they took a big hit in talent this year with Punk leaving, all the injuries, the fiasco with Del Rio, the ongoing fiasco with Mysterio. I think they finally I think they're finally starting to figure out that they can't continue business as usual, that they've got to mix things up.
I think
I totally agree.
that's definitely a strong point, Nick. I think you're right. Yeah, things are going to have to change. And man, why is everything so fucked up with WWE all of a sudden? Because I keep forgetting about the Mysterio thing.
Yeah, they want that to stay quiet because that is a huge deal waiting to blow up in their faces if Mysterio goes public.
Wait. Okay, hold on a second. Back up. Okay, to be completely honest, I've been kind of out of the loop on a lot of this stuff for the past few weeks. With just life. What's been going on with this Mysterio thing?
Mysterio's been trying to get out of his contract, and I believe he wanted out before the Del Rio thing happened, but that really exacerbated the whole issue. Mysterio got pissed. He hasn't been cashing his paychecks, and the scuttlebutt from everybody is that he wants out in the worst way possible.
Like he's not coming back. He will not come back to work.
He's gone. He hasn't gone to like all the outlets and screamed from the rooftops, but he's made it known that as soon as he's out, he's going straight to AAA. Like he actually recorded the video message that played at the end of AAA's biggest show. It was the same show that Del Rio debuted at.
Holy crap. That is a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, if they want a guy who's just going to do the same old, I mean, AAA can have him, in my opinion. But I am not a Del Mysterio fan, either one of them. So
I think Mysterio will actually reinvent himself down at AAA because I think he's been. I don't think he's wanted to be in WWE for a while, but I think it really only boiled over relatively recently.
Okay. Do you guys think WWE requires competition at this level before Raw becomes the show that everyone's been missing since the end of the Monday Night Wars?
Kinda, if you can consider NXT competition. Because it's getting more and more obvious that people are starting to prefer. More and more people are starting to prefer NXT over the flagship programming. And once you start getting more of the big names, like your Sami Zayns, like your Kevin Steens, once you start getting them on the flagship programming, I think it will start to... I think the flagship programming will get a noticeable increase in quality and attention.
So you think it's just this certain guys that have been going through the program? I mean, because... with WWE wanting the Performance Center and NXT to help develop guys the way they want them to be seen, do you feel that we're really just going to get the same cogs in and out, or do you think we're actually going to see a change?
I think we will start to see a change because along with what's going on down in NXT, we are starting to see more and more of the reins of power shift into Triple H's hands. And I don't necessarily know if having Trips in charge as opposed to Vince will really change anything at the fundamental level, but I think the stage is getting set for a Raw that we can watch for 3 hours and not bitch. I think the stage is getting set for that.
Oh, whoa. We'll be out of a job.
Well, I mean, then FTW will become just a circle jerk of everybody, just adulating Raw and heaping praise upon them rather than what we're doing now, I guess.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, we're really... I mean, then if that becomes a flagship show, then we're going to be like, hey, remember when we had Cena? Those were the times when Cena was on.
No, we'll just make Nick watch Raw, and we'll call him a hipster every time he references it.
Well, he is watching Total Divas and NXT, so
God damn, dude.
He's not only that NXT hipster, he's also the sheep watching the
Total Diva?
Watching the Total Divas.
You can't be a sheep and a hipster.
To be clear, I haven't watched anything from this current season of Total Divas yet.
Oh, of course not. You got to make sure that you got your bath set out. You got your bath salt and your bath oils in there. You got your glass of sangria, and then you just put on Total Divas, and then Nick, you got your night set, man. That's how you unwind after a tough night out with the girls.
I'm waiting for a few more episodes to roll out so I can binge watch all of them on a day off.
Well,
I mean, Orange is the New Black the shit out of this.
I gotta be honest. Every time I see, and I don't know what made this connection in my head, but every time I see a thing for Total Divas, I keep thinking, you know what? I should really start watching Project Runway. I keep hearing it's an amazing show, but I never get a chance to watch it. So every time I see a promo for Total Divas, I'm like, I gotta watch Project Runway. I just keep hearing it's amazing.
I have never had that thought before, so clearly you are
Really?
far more advanced into that than I am.
Well, Nick is the hipster. Harrison apparently is the person who's awaiting the sex change.
Dude, I'm sorry, but I've heard that Project Runway is an amazing show. It's like reality that isn't terrible. From what I understand. Anyway,
I was told Sex and the City was a great show too. Doesn't mean I watched it.
Oh, that show was terrible.
Here's the
question. Here's the question I have about this. So, doesn't Raw kind of have competition into a show that they have on Sci-Fi called SmackDown? Why does it have to be NXT?
Because SmackDown is the Raw recap show. SmackDown has not SmackDown has not been a formidable opponent for Raw in quite a long time.
But my point is, they have the IP. They also have a pay-per-view where they put these two shows against each other. So why, if they're looking for well, no, they have that. They have that card. Basically, the cards are all still in the deck that the WWE can whip out if they want to make SmackDown versus Raw a thing again. I mean, that was something that I kind of liked the brand war a little bit, especially in the beginning. It was pretty good. It kind of petered off at the end, and then when they revived it, it was kind of like, oh well, this is a good idea, but they just kind of shot it before it was really had a chance to get some legs underneath itself. But I think that SmackDown versus Raw has a lot more potential than NXT versus Raw. NXT is an up-and-coming show. I know NXT.
So we're gonna do
a lot of people are watching it.
We're gonna do the brand extension again.
Why not? I mean, first off, NXT is rising. It does not have nearly the penetration that SmackDown has. I mean, let's be honest. There aren't nearly as many people watching one versus the other. NXT's rising, yes. It's interesting because it's not available on cable. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the WWE Network has a wider viewer base than Sci-Fi does.
That could be very valid.
Sharknado 2 brought in an insane amount of ratings. It was the highest rated show for Sci-Fi. I know that, and I bet WWE was just, I bet WWE was just killing themselves that Sharknado 2 got higher ratings than SmackDown.
With its
you don't see that in the Did You Know card. Exactly. You don't see that in the Did You Know cards. So for me, I think SmackDown would be a much better competition than NXT.
Yeah, it certainly has that potential, but there's a lot of it has a lot of potential to make that happen. I guess if they want to do anything further than change up the commentary, which I mean that's a promising sign in and of itself that Tom Phillips is basically getting his own show. Like they said that it's basically his show to announce now. So I mean that's an automatic bump in quality right there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, let's take a step back here. All right, when we talk about the Monday Night Wars, what do we want to see? Do we want to see the two giants slugging it out in the ring of WCW when it was in its prime, and when WWE was in its prime, and when Monday Night, well, anyway, when the two shows were side by side slugging it out? Do we want to see that, or do we want to see the stuff around it, like when DX invaded WCW, or when Bischoff spoiled Raw? Do we want to see that stuff? Because if you want to see the two giants going at each other and slugging it out that way, then definitely SmackDown versus Raw. But if you want to see that kind of mischievous pranking thing, I think you got to have NXT. You got to have NXT, the internet underdogs. And if they did take on WWE Raw that way, do invasion shows and really kind of go after Raw, I think that would really help both programs if you want to take that side of the Monday Night Wars.
If you wanted to go that latter route, the first thing you'd have to do is get NXT out the tape delay, because that delay is massive right now.
How massive?
Uh, NXT is at least a month behind its air dates.
Oh, okay,
Or
okay.
the air dates are a month
Holy
behind
crap.
the tape.
So
Yeah.
they're totally TNAing it up.
Basically, yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Like-
they got to go live, or at least a few days. if
I
they wanna do
thought they actually were live, but
that. I thought they were weak. I thought they were
Yes,
that weak. I thought it was like SmackDown.
No, just the specials are live. Otherwise, they
Okay.
do like 3 or 4 tapings in a location.
I thought they were
Hmm.
always at
Okay.
the Full Sail Arena or whatever it was.
There have been times when they've done other Florida locations.
Okay. Well, I mean that actually is an interesting point on all that. I mean that. I'm all over the place tonight, guys. No, I mean just the idea of NXT versus Raw as opposed to SmackDown versus Raw. Because I don't think we're going to see SmackDown versus Raw because we got rid of the brand division. You know, we're not drafting guys to shows anymore.
Mhm.
We can't go back. We can't do that without that aspect because you can't keep having guys cross over shows. You
What
need
if
to
you-
get certain guys on certain shows. That way, there's a reason for them to want to support their own show.
What if you just drafted from NXT, kind of like the NFL drafts from college football?
But you can't. If you've got John Cena on one show and Randy Orton on the other show, they can't be fighting each other on Raw and on SmackDown.
Oh, you're talking about completely gaining it that far. Okay, yeah, I can see that.
I go back. I mean, hell, even do SmackDown only pay-per-views. Do a Raw only pay-per-view. You know, that would be. Then the guys can be proud of the show they're on, and then maybe if we had NXT in there as well, then SmackDown versus NXT could be a show, could be a pay-per-view. And then you guys get, then you get stuff like that there, and then you get, when you come to do the draft, then you've got 3 parties in the draft. That, I mean, I think that changes things up, but that goes back to stuff they've already done, and stuff they've already shot down they don't think is valid anymore, which I think is bullshit because, when we had SmackDown, Raw, and ECW, we had a very similar setup.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's I guess where I feel they could, if they went back to that, well, I think they have the potential to do better. But they really need to market each show as its own and market each show, to fight against the other show. And dear God, do I say it, to get viewers to the other shows, intentionally tank Raw.
Whoa, okay, that's not happening. I'll tell you that.
It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. But to actually make people truly believe that Raw isn't going to be the top dog, that it's going to be SmackDown, or God forbid NXT, and then Raw can later retaliate, then you have these shows battling each other and trying to build up their own merits. I mean, SmackDown had a core group of guys when Heyman was booking that really put eyes back on that product. If they were to do that again, I think it could be a good thing. And unless you guys have anything else to say,
No?
we should move on to TNA.
Hey, that rhymed.
Nice.
Damn it. All right, TNA. This weekend, TNA tweeted that if people didn't like the results of WWE Night of Champions, that they have options every Wednesday with Impact Wrestling. And TNA is an option that we have chosen, so let's talk about what happened this weekend, TNA. Bobby Lashley defeated Bobby Roode in the Battle of the Bobbies to retain the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Was this a good call, Nicholas?
I suppose so. I was figuring that Roode would take the title here and not wait till Bound for Glory, but it works. It absolutely does work. This doesn't necessarily have to be an end to Roode's bid for a championship, especially given the way it happened. When Roode got injured to hell, and Kenny King and MVP interfered to some degree, so he absolutely has grounds for another shot. I wasn't disappointed with the match at all. It was a very good match. So overall, I'm okay with the result. I guess it was a good call.
Okay, for me, hands down, the best call was early on they headed off the Battle of the Bobby thing by making sure they pushed that it's only Lashley, not Bobby Lashley, the entire show. It was Lashley, because I think they did not want to have it to where you were saying Bobby, 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 Bobby 18 times in the match.
Yeah, well, they did start calling him Lashley pretty early on. It is tenure in TNA, but yeah, absolutely. It did take the crowd a little bit to realize that chanting for Bobby, it's kind of confusing.
Yeah,
So.
Yes. For me, I like this. I like the idea that Lashley's going to hold on to the belt because I will admit I have not watched much wrestling in the past few weeks. So for me, the stark contrast between Lashley when he first arrived and Lashley now, this guy is getting legit quick. He's not falling into the MMA trap that a lot of guys fall into when they first come over from MMA, where they have that same kind of style and they can't really seem to keep up the spike set spike or the spot low kind of pace of a wrestling match. They kind of struggle with that. They also struggle with improving and letting the other guy lead. Lashley is turning into a natural. This guy, I cannot believe how good this guy has gotten so quickly since debuting in TNA. Having him hold the belt, sure, I think that's pretty good, especially if he holds it until Bound for Glory. I think that could make for a really interesting tournament. Roode looked good too, and I could see Roode taking it back from him in the future. I feel like Roode, but at the same time, I felt like Roode didn't really have, I don't know, the promos leading up to it. He just didn't seem like he really. It's almost like they told him he was going to win up until the start of the show, and they said, no, you're going to lose. Because then he didn't really seem to have his heart in all of his promos he was doing. It just felt like he just got the news that he was going to lose, and he was just kind of like, oh. I don't know how to describe it.
Do you remember Bobby Lashley in the WWE?
No, not really. No, I remember he was in the WWE, but I don't remember him wrestling in it.
Okay, I was just curious because he got a lot of experience there too.
Oh, he did? Okay, all right.
Yeah, he was the ECW champion. He was the guy who fought for Donald Trump in the Battle of the Billionaires, hair versus hair match.
That was Lashley?
Yeah. That was Lashley. Lashley and Umaga.
Holy crap! I remember Umaga was in that match. I remember it was Lashley.
Yeah. Okay, I was just making sure. I was just a reference point to.
No, that's cool.
Just to clarify.
Yeah, Lashley comes from a wrestling background, not just with his time in WWE, but like he was a pretty big name in amateur wrestling at one point too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so for a guy like that, where he kind of comes from wrestling and he goes into MMA for a while, it's a little bit easier for a guy like that. So yeah, and I definitely see where you're coming from with the tone of the Roode promos this past week. Like there was a lot of fire beforehand, but yeah, this week was definitely much more low key.
But not
and it kind of not sexy either. Yeah, he kind of played that off okay with kind of enjoying the silence before the storm, but yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from there.
Yeah, it just felt like I don't know how to describe it. It just felt like, I don't know, like he wasn't feeling it. Like maybe kind of like he was just getting over the flu. That's the only thing I can think about it.
Mm.
Yeah, for me, Bobby Lashley beating Bobby Roode, it does make sense, but where who are they going to have go up against Bobby Lashley? Who's going to be? And I hate that I'm going to be saying this, but it's like the WWE storyline with Brock Lesnar. Who's going to be able to beat Brock Lesnar? Who's going to be able to beat Bobby Lashley? I'm not saying it's the same storyline. I'm just saying that I could see a possible correlation.
But it works, Joe. I mean, it works, and it's working for WWE, and it's working here too.
They are putting together a Gold Rush tournament. to determine the next number one contender. They started advertising that on Twitter. Like,
Okay.
they're drawing from pretty much everybody. Like Aries will be facing off against Nux. Abyss is involved. Robbie E of all people is involved. And some others. Bram, I think. And I'm pretty sure Roode is in it as well. So.
Okay. Well, what else? The Wolves took the third championship tag team match of the series quest thing. No, out of the triple tag team tournament that they've got going on, the Wolves did win the ladder match. Everything's now tied up. Was this the best match thus far, and does this show the Wolves have a shot of winning, or do we feel that the Hardys or the Dudleys are going to win? I'm sorry, Team 3D.
Hands down, this was the best match thus far. Matt Hardy actually went on Twitter and said it was high and above better than the TLC match that everybody talks about. And looking back at that match, I can't disagree. This match was outstanding. The Wolves were really strong in this one. I don't know if they necessarily foreshadowed the end of the match right from the get-go, because the Wolves came out of the gate very strong. And that double stomp that Davey Richards did to Matt on the table.
Oh my God.
That was amazing.
Yeah, that was extremely impressive. But I do think that the second TLC match in the WWE, that it was, Edge and Christian and the Hardys and the Dudleys, I think the second one was much better than the first. And everybody seems to go to the first one, and it just wasn't as good.
Yeah, and I think the reason why, guys, is because these three teams, they're starting to get a little chemistry to themselves. The Hardys have been around for a long time, so they know their style. Team 3D has been around for a long time, they know their style. The Wolves are relative newcomers, and I think that these three teams are starting to kind of gel a little bit. And I think any other match that they have from here on out is going to be this was the best match that we've seen of this kind from these three teams, since whenever. And I think that's why. I think it's going to be because these guys are starting to kind of, they're working the kinks out. They're starting to kind of understand, take the nonverbal cues, and they're starting to realize what they can push with stops with each other. They can push with spots with each other. For me, this entire match, I was expecting Team 3D to win. I don't know why. The entire time I'm watching, I'm going, and this is going to be the spot where Bully climbs the ladder. And I just could not believe how back and forth this thing went every step of the way. I mean, even that superplex off the top rope when he kicked, when I think it was Matt or Jeff, when his legs hit the belts and they're swinging back and forth, just that little moment, I was like, oh, this is incredible. I don't know. The entire match was spectacular, and I think as good as this match is, I think these guys are just going to get better the more they wrestle with each other, the more they wrestle together.
Absolutely.
Cool. Moving along, Havoc is your number one contender for the Knockouts Championship. Too soon?
No, I don't think so. This was the natural progression for her debut. Just the way she came in and cleared house right from the get-go. This is the obvious move forward. And realistically, there wasn't anybody else left after that point. Gail had already beaten Taryn Terrell, Madison Rain, Angelina Love. There wasn't really anybody else in position to challenge for it, so Havoc absolutely makes sense.
Fair enough.
This just makes me miss Awesome Kong.
It does. I mean, everybody misses Kiki. We can't deny the fact that she was impressive, and I think she was out of the ring before her time was called, because we really haven't seen. I mean, I know she does wrestle, but we don't see her the way we want to see her. We don't see her in the spotlight we expect her to be in. The one that she that we could say she deserves, because we've all been big fans of Awesome Kong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not just because your dog looks like her.
No, that has nothing to do with it. Wrestling talent is wrestling talent. You can't go any further.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, this was the first match of Havoc's I actually watched like front to back. I've seen bits and pieces. I'm not going to judge her based on this because I'm going to be honest. This match was kind of a mess.
Yeah.
These kind of like it just was. These kind of like big over the top rope. Let's put 6 people in the ring and see what happens kind of thing. It usually works if they're given enough time to kind of let things spike for a little bit, then turn it into a little bit of a spot fest, and then start eliminating people. I think this match was just too fast. I think this match should have been close to about 15, 20 minutes, and I think it was only like 10 or 12. It was kind of a mess. It just didn't really have any flow to it. And so with Havoc winning in the end, I was like, okay, I can't judge her. This is like the first real match I've seen of hers, and I can't judge her on it. So I'm going to default to what Nick said, really.
Well, she really hasn't had any matches. I mean...
Yeah, she hasn't had a singles match yet. Her match against Gail
Seriously?
Kim will be the first one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Actually,
So
I think
I'm not
this is the
sure
first
that.
match Havoc has been in.
Yeah, so TNA is very high on Havoc because if they're going to try and put the strap on her or give her the shot at the strap without being in a singles match, I mean, that says a whole heck of a lot.
Okay, I'm going to give TNA the benefit of the doubt on this because when it comes to picking women talent, they are really good. So if they think Havoc's the next big thing, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say, yeah, probably.
I mean, we're not going to deny that Havoc isn't awesome or Kong. No, but I mean, it's just interesting that she hasn't had a televised match, and they're already putting her in line for the title. I mean,
Well, we'll see how it
that's
goes.
just it's impressive, and a good sign for her, and
Yeah.
for all the matches she's had leading up to this point in various companies. Cool. Who is next for the X Division now that Joe's beaten Low Key and Homicide? Will someone from Storm's new stable step up to the plate, or do we have an issue because the rumor is that Joe's injured?
I actually haven't heard that rumor.
I heard a rumor he got injured at the last show.
Well, if that's the case, then that kind of throws a wrench in things. I hope it's not, because I really want to see how Sonata will work in a singles match, and Manic as well.
Yeah, I would love to see either one of those guys, but I mean, if this is true, I mean, we could have some major problems here for the X Division. That being said, okay, I'm sorry, we'll remove that from the equation. Who do you think is the next one for Joe? If Joe is completely healthy.
If Joe is injured, then I think the only true answer is to sign Ryback and have him go after the X Division title.
Well, I mean, not your. I mean, this really isn't a spoiler because it was already all over the internet. Guys from the WWE are now over at TNA.
Okay, we'll talk about him a little bit. I know who you're talking about, but because he's highlighted in red, but we'll talk about him. For me, though, legitimately X Division, why not Manic? Manic comes back with a new costume, new outfit. He's looking pretty good. I could see Manic stepping up to the plate on that one.
Actually, Harrison, it's somebody else, but.
Okay, well, whatever. That's what they said on the show, so I'm going by what they said on the show. Mostly because I want to see what the hell they're doing with Storm Stable. Because looking at this on paper, this does not make sense.
Yeah, I mean, the obvious target for Storm and Sonata is Muta and Tajiri by extension, since they're billing Tajiri as Muta's protege. But Manic, unless they want to bring in someone else on the side of Team Japan, I guess, a logical next step for Manic would be the X Division title, especially given the way Storm interjected himself into the post-match of the X Division Championship.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
I just wish Manic had a different kind of mask. Because unless you're Dasher Hetfield, that really doesn't work for anybody.
Yeah, I was going to say, because while I don't like the mask, Garvin was not pleased with the new Manic look. He just started You just started laughing, and I don't think the look is that bad. I actually like it outside of that mask.
Here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
The old look. Well, here's the thing. Manic's old look kind of looked like a Chinese knockoff Deadpool, like something your aunt would get you at a drug.
You know what?
Like
That is a very, very great action.
It really is.
I never thought about it being a Deadpool.
But that's the thing. That's what he reminded me of. Seriously, he reminded me of like your aunt knows you're a huge Deadpool fan, so she's out at Walmart and she gets like the $4 Deadpool, like the Manic doll that they have sitting next to the cash register, and then you have to sit there at Christmas and go, "Oh, thanks, Aunt Judy. This is exactly what I was looking for." The entire time you're thinking, "What the hell did she find? What gas station did she get this one at?" So I mean, that's so the new outfit for me, I think, is a step up, mostly because I don't know any knockoff superheroes it could be. Maybe with the new Deadpool movie out, they had to do it.
Yeah, maybe.
But they did it 6 weeks ago when...
Well, the movie was announced, what, 2 or 3 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, but that's still taped before...
Joe, let me have my conspiracy theory. Can you just let me have this?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm really glad they finally decided to move on from the old Suicide costume. It's been long past time for a change.
Yeah.
Yeah, while the talent is there, the costume just needed to... Yeah, the costume needed to go. It's bad enough when they changed him from Suicide to Manic. You know, where everyone going, okay, well, it's the same guy. Now the M on his costume makes a little more sense. But, like, nothing changed when they did the name change. At least now we're getting, like, a costume change. We're getting a different attitude. You know, there's something more to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving on. Josh Matthews has been seen at TNA headquarters. How do you guys want to see him used in TNA?
Taking over play-by-play. I think that's really the only direction that he could go right now.
So then we move Mike Tenay move him into the down west position. He can do crazy deals.
I'd be fine with keeping Tenay on commentary just as another color guy, because he and Taz do well together to one degree or another, interacting with one another. It's just Tenay isn't that great at play-by-play anymore. So I think while they give input as Matthews does play-by-play, I think that would really work well.
What about backstage giving interviews?
What? So they can have Bobby Lashley beat him up for making a reference to Jimmy Jones?
I mean, Tenay wouldn't be bad in the backstage role either.
I don't know. I think Tenay. I like the idea. I like the 3-person panel for calling a match. I think WWE is squandering it a bit. I think the trick is to have the right kind of talent. I think Josh Matthews being straight face, kind of like you're saying, pull the play-by-play. Just that's the only thing he does. Let Taz and Tenay kind of snipe at each other. I think it works. The only problem is Taz isn't really in a heel mode right now. So you'd bring back Josh Matthews, turn Taz heel. That's a lot that you're throwing at. Really,
you don't need to turn Taz heel. I mean, Taz already, he does rally behind the heels for the most part, unless it's an issue where it's like...
the other guys from New York.
Melendez.
Yeah, Taz only really agrees with Tenay on stuff when it's like blatant heel shit, like Kenny King disrespecting Sarge or something like that. I don't really want Taz to go full heel like he was when he was the Aces and Eights voice.
Oh, God, it was awful.
Yeah, because then you just get another situation where
the pigeons
JBL is dumping all over whoever's on commentary with him.
Right.
Yeah. It only really works when JR is the other guy.
Yeah, when they can overpower that just blatant dumping of bullshit.
Yeah, when JR, look, that was the part. Like King played a decent heel, but it was the only reason it worked is you're right, Nick, because JR was able to go toe to toe with him.
What else?
Well, speaking of which, I did want to ask this. Did anybody think that they went too far with the Sarge bashing? I don't know. Part of me feels like this is getting kind of sticky.
That was the point.
Maybe
when he was trying to take the leg off. That's when he was trying to take the amputate the what do you call that?
Prosthetic.
Prosthetic, thank you.
Yeah.
When he was trying to take the prosthetic off and saying he was going to beat him with it, that's when I was like, we're kind of getting into, like, Sergeant Slaughter territory, and I don't think this is going to end well for anybody involved. I feel like what you did is you just pulled the pin on the grenade, and now you're just running around the crowd. It's like, look, you're just going to ruin everybody's night.
But that was
like, I think he could get away with that. It was the whole, you can't even defend yourself. How will you defend this country? And I think that's where you kind of cross the line. Like, the whole saluting thing, I get. I think you can get away with that, but it's where you start to attack what he actually did in real life, like that. I think that's where you start getting into a gray area.
See, I don't think it was an issue because what they're just trying to go, because what does Melendez have right now? He's a soldier. He's got one leg.
That's really all he's got, yeah.
That's all they've got to work with right now.
Okay. Joe, yes, that is a fair point. I can see where you're coming from with that. And to be honest, I think TNA handled that really well. I think everybody in the ring did a really good job. I mean, that promo, for what it was, flowed really well. It was a solid in-ring promo. Told a really good story. My thing is, though, I felt like they were like, and I'm you know what? I'm willing to bet if this thing happened in a vacuum, if the whole Sergeant Slaughter thing had never happened, I don't think we'd be having this conversation. I think we would be saying they got really bold with that, and props to TNA. I think they handled it really well. But professional wrestling does have a history with this kind of thing, and I don't know. And I know we're going to get into that topic next about professional wrestling's history with certain other social issues. So I don't know. That's something I wanted to bring up. I typed it into the doc and then I deleted it because I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk about it. But yeah. Anyway, it is what it is.
Well, me personally, I never saw that whole thing with Sergeant Slaughter. Like, I haven't watched wrestling very much that far back. From where I'm coming from is my brother served in the Marines. He recently got out. Like, he served over in Afghanistan for a little while. And having family that did serve in the military, I wasn't offended. Not in the slightest, but I do see where you could have a case being offended by that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it kind of does. I think Joe, I think you hit it. There's just not enough there yet.
Yeah, it's the only thing they have to go off of. So they have to hit those hard to get people behind the guy in order for him to come back. After that, he can end up dating this is FFG there, Christy Hemme. You know, maybe he gets in a relationship with Christy Hemme and somebody gets crazy and starts stalking, or something. Speaking of stalkers, who stalked Christy Hemme, do you think TNA is going to do this is from Benjamin on Facebook, do you think TNA is going to do a gay angle with Samuel Shaw? And if so, can Shaw pull it off?
I wasn't really getting that vibe from this. If that's where they go, then I question why they would, but if anybody can, Shaw could, because I think he's really handled this character well ever since he debuted it. I don't know why they didn't go with him hooking up with Brittany, though, because that seems like a natural progression to me. Get all the crazy in one box, I guess. But yeah, I suppose if they decide to have him fixate on Gunner instead, I guess if it doesn't work, I don't think it'll be Samuel Shaw's fault.
Okay, here's the problem though. It feels like if it is that they decided to go with a gay angle with Samuel Shaw, isn't this the same thing that WWE did with Kevin's obsession? Damn it, I'm so terrible with names this late at night.
Mickie James?
Yeah, with Mickie James when she did it wasn't really a lesbian angle. It was kind of just like a psycho stalker angle. Isn't that kind of what they risk doing with this? I mean, it doesn't seem like when you hear gay angle, there's the thing that wrestling has traditionally done, which always makes
Elliot, Chuck, Orlando Jordan.
Yeah, basically, professional wrestling has how to put this delicately. They're known by the LBGT God, I'm way too tired to figure out all the acronyms. The community, let's just say professional wrestling has a circle with a line through it. So the idea that they would do this with like a crazy character, I don't feel like. I think at this point the motivation can't just be pure. I think it has to be political. And I think if they're going to do if they're going to take the political angle with it, whoever's going to make this character and make it stick and make it work, they have to almost like apologize for the history that this entire sport has had with this whole thing. So it's almost like the first guy who has to do it has to be like Austin Aries, where it's like he's awesome. He's just really talented. He's gay, and it doesn't really do anything other than the fact that he's gay and he's really awesome. I mean, like that's it.
Who I think could have worked this angle well? Joey Ryan, because he's such a
sleazeball though.
Joey Ryan could have made it work. Whether the angle would have really took off or not, I don't know.
I don't know. I think if anybody's going to do this, it's got to be like, I don't know. It's just got to be something where it's not like them being gay isn't because they're crazy or because there's something wrong with them. It's got to be they're gay. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
It's got to be something like that. It's got to be something. It's got to be like Sarge. It's got to be like, okay, so he came in. He's got this disability. He's kicking ass. He's owning it. He's and I think if TNA does this, they got to make a gay character. They got to persecute him, and they got to make him feel bad, and then he's got to triumph over that. And then he's got to triumph over that by being talented and by having a community rally around him and go, you know what? No, it is cool. It's okay that you're gay. No one's going to hate you for it. And this guy's an asshole for saying that. And they got to do that kind of thing with it. I think if they did anything else, I don't know. I just feel like it's got to be political at this point. They got to apologize almost.
Yeah, I definitely see that. I guess the more I think about it, if they decide to unveil Gunner as the object of Samuel Shaw's obsession, then I don't see how they can make that sexual. It's just like they've already kind of alluded to it when they had Samuel Shaw dress up in Gunner's military uniform. And they kind of got away from that again, but this would have to be reverting back to Stalker.
Yeah, it's not really. Yeah, I get where you're coming from with that. It's not really like a love interest angle. It's almost like okay, dude, there's something wrong with you angle. And this whole thing of if it is that Sam Shaw, it doesn't have to, like you're saying, it doesn't have to be sexual. He could just be obsessed with Gunner and just want to take him over. And if that's the case, then I think that's actually a pretty solid storyline, to be honest. I don't know a lot about Sam Shaw. I know I've seen him wrestle. I have some experience with him, but I don't know if he could pull that off. But I'll trust you guys when you say you think he will.
Okie dokie, guys. Edit point at about 9:40. All of a sudden it told me my call got dropped.
Okay, I think we were still live. It's a little live.
Yeah, no, I think you guys were still live. It's just I don't know. I think once it gets initiated, like I'm the only one who can stop it. But anyway.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
But if you just lost internet entirely, Nick and I would have to be stuck watching wrestling, talking wrestling all night, and I don't think I'm that interesting.
I can tell you that right now. You're not that interesting. I'm not that interesting. Okay, Nick, yeah. But
yeah, I think Nick could carry a show like that. I think he could be the I think he could be the Conan O'Brien and carry the show for us. I was going to say Johnny Carson, but I don't think anybody here even watched Johnny Carson.
I did.
Oh, hey, all right.
Because I'm old.
Yeah.
I am the geezer of the show. So anyway, let's give a gap here for editing purposes. Well, I guess, is there anything more else to say about Samuel Shaw?
No, I think we explored that pretty thoroughly.
Cool. All right, let's give a break. Okay, and that was TNA. TNA Bound for Glory takes place October 12th, Sunday from which hall, Nick?
Korakuen.
Thank you. I don't know why, I just can't say it. And we'll be previewing it on October 7th, FTW233. The only thing scheduled so far is the induction of Team 3D into the TNA Hall of Fame, not the WWE Hall of Fame. So it's about time we move on to Win, Fail. Harrison, your win of the week.
Sheamus versus Cesaro. This was the match going into it you knew was going to be good. It was definitely the highlight of Night of Champions, and for me, it was just a solid match. And the crazy thing about it is, it was a Sheamus match, and I don't know why, but these two guys, I mean, Cesaro just brings out the best in Sheamus, and I feel like Sheamus just needed that other dude, and man, yeah, nobody. I'm sorry?
I said he was just craving another dude.
He was just craving another dude, and that dude was Cesaro. I mean, let's be honest, that match was spectacular. Their styles just gelled so well with each other, and Cesaro really has basically the I don't know how to describe it, but I guess the power to weight ratio to really throw Sheamus around, which you really don't see very often. So yeah, these two guys, hands down, this match had a lot of chemistry. They gelled together, and it was spectacular.
Nick?
It has to be the ladder match from No Surrender for me. Those three teams worked incredibly well together. The previous two matches, they were great, but the quality has just been building and building as the series has gone on. Especially the few spots that they did have. Well, not the few spots, but a few spots. The double foot stomp through the table, the suplex, the super duper superplex off the ladder that Bully did on Jeff. It was full of moments like that were just jaw-dropping. I really enjoyed that match, so I got to give it up to the Wolves for winning that match and making sure the series goes to the full 4 matches.
My win of the week this week has to be Ambrose. Ambrose came back full hog. He's been doing a great job since coming back from the pay-per-view and on Raw. We're getting a lot of good stuff there. From the live chat, the third match of the tag team series, and Blue says the return of Dean Ambrose. So I'm glad we're echoing the chat there. Fails of the week, Nick. What's your fail of the week?
Let's see. I guess the fail is that I was really hoping that Mark Henry was going to go over at Night of Champions.
Oh, damn it. Crap, I gotta find another one now.
Yeah, I don't really like that carried through, because I can't think of a single person left in the WWE that makes sense as far as if you're going to keep going with America versus Russia at this point. Because you've really gone through the only two that the WWE has right now. And unless you want to go back to Swagger versus Rusev, and I guess the door's kind of open, but I'm afraid that they're going to go with Big Show versus Rusev, and I really don't want to see that.
Okay. Harrison?
Okay, I got 2 fails. First fail is me for completely forgetting how awesome TNA was on Thursday and that they should have been my win. Wow, that was a solid Wednesday. Yeah, TNA's Last Impact was amazing. They really brought it. They put together a solid show. Had some hiccups. The women's match, it definitely should have had more time. It was just, I don't know, it's kind of a mess. Some of the promos felt kind of forced. I mean, Bobby Roode definitely wasn't feeling it, but overall it was a solid show. Yeah, that's my win, and my fail is the fact that I forgot about that one. My other fail is just life in general for keeping me from doing this as often as I'd like. I really miss doing this. This podcast is awesome.
Aww.
But I still love my daughter more than you guys, and I don't care. I know
that should be the case, my friend.
Yeah, but I worry that Lee may love my daughter more than me. Dude, he was all over her.
Yeah, let's not bring up things he said.
Well, no, he thought she was the cutest thing ever.
I know, but he also said wait till she's 16 or...
It was things said on this show.
Okay, I'm going to assume that he was saying that in terms of she would have great conversations and that it's a British thing. Like, I'm just going to assume it's a cultural thing that I'm missing. I'm not just going to think that I had a pedophile at my daughter's first birthday party. So I'm just going to think that, he's British, he's weird, he's eccentric. We'll just go with that.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Thank you. I appreciate it, guys. Really, just to sleep at night. I just need you to just stick with me on this one.
Yep.
Lee is going to bring the creep hard next week.
Him and Nick.
Oh, yeah. Skeet. Well,
You guys.
from the live chat, Deuce says his fail is the Total Divas matches and spots. SBTW Anime Reviews says
That's
fails.
Lou.
Oh, that's Lou? Okay. Lou says everything about the Bellas was the fail. Blue Cactur says fail is Itami using the stomp thing as his finisher, and he hates that move so much. My fail is going to be Soundflower and Mixler, and not being able to give you guys the audio the way you guys are used to it. I don't know what the fuck the problem is, but it enrages me so much, and I don't know how to fix it. And
Nope.
Stop using Max.
Shut up, Nick.
they're free. Why not? At least for work. Maybe I'll find something else. I don't know what the hell's going on, but I'm gonna work with Garvin throughout the next week or so and figure something out. So that's my fail of the week, and that seems to be all the fails. Do you guys have any final thoughts, Nick?
Since we're broadcasting through YouTube right now, YouTube only, it seems appropriate that we go ahead and plug the YouTubes. We mentioned it in the intro, but yeah, stay tuned to the channel because we've got a lot of more new content coming out. Not just the podcast, but also stuff from you guys, the hooligans and the FTW community at large. So, absolutely, stay tuned to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had stuff from Deuce, Michelle. Yeah, stuff's coming in and stuff's going right on out to you guys on the YouTube channel. So make sure if you're catching this as a podcast download to check out ftwpodcast.com, ftwlive.com, and we also want you to check out the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/theftwpodcast.
Also, I know you guys appreciate the show and everything, and we don't really ask anything from you. Like, we don't have a Patreon page. We don't ask for donations. I mean, if you want to buy a T-shirt, it would help out with hosting costs. If you guys could do us all a solid and rate the show wherever you want, rate it on iTunes. It helps our search results there. Rate it on YouTube. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Just let everybody know. First off, it's the ego boost to us. It makes us feel pretty good knowing that we're doing something that you guys enjoy. But also, it just helps other people find the show, grow the community, and make this thing a lot better. So that's the only thing we ask of you besides just listening is to just go on, find wherever you found it, and just hit, hey, this thing was awesome.
Yeah, spread the love, because we've had friends spread the love, and all of a sudden I'm getting a message from somebody saying, hey, what happened to Harrison? I miss him. And it's a guy, I'm like, who are you? And they're like, oh, so-and-so turned me onto the show. And it's always nice to hear a friend say, hey, my friend keeps referring to Wednesdays, not as Wednesday, but FTW Day. Because that's when the podcast drops for them. It's awesome.
That is awesome.
It is awesome to hear. So there we go.
One more request. As far as YouTube content goes, we're starting a series, or at least I'm starting a series called Intro to the Indies. If you've been watching the channel, you've seen that we've already got an ROH video out. I've put out requests on Twitter and the Facebook group for more promotions, like your PWG, Chikara. If you got a local promotion, turn us on to that. If you do that, please include information like champions, who's on top, notable figures, feuds that we need to be aware of, things like that. So if you've got a promotion that you want mentioned in this series, by all means, leave a comment on YouTube, hit us up on Twitter, the Facebook group, anywhere. That would be greatly appreciated because we're doing content for you guys, and this is for the community at large. So any input from you guys would be awesome.
Excellent. And so that's the show. Go to ftwpodcast.com for more information about us and how to get involved in the future. Join us each and every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern at ftwlive.com. We'll make sure you find out where to get us because, yeah, apparently I only do look like this now. For myself, Harrison, Nick, Garvin, everybody in the live chat, we will see you next Tuesday.